On Expedition Bigfoot, a truly terrifying event occurred. Following this terrifying discovery, the crew left the stage. They have tracked down proof that Bigfoot is genuine. Beforehand, the group had set up various trackers and sound recorders to identify any kind of development of the Bigfoot. They couldn't find any movement for a long time, but eventually, the group tracked down a development in one of their trackers. Russ was able to capture a movement close by using the tracker, which directly led to the surge of water close to it. The group burned through no chance to examine this matter. Mireya and Russ made the decision to cross the mainland in order to follow this tracker. The group had proactively been associating the presence with more than one Bigfoot individual on the island. When they come across what may appear to be a murder scene, their suspicions are quickly confirmed. The dispersion of bones and body parts on the ground indicated that something had occurred there. The team is perplexed to find such a site, but they have finally discovered the best lead for them to move closer to their objective. They delve even further into the area as the team continues to investigate the site. Profound backwoods covered with thick timber lines. They locate a significant lead after some time of searching, a lead that confirmed the truth be known.
Oh yeah, look at that.
It was at least twice the size of my hand, maybe bigger.
A huge, non-human handprint, as opposed to a normal handprint. Mireya and Russ affirmed the impression to be the imprint of a Bigfoot. This was a significant step toward their exciting adventure. They now face a brand new discovery. Mireya and Russ immediately educated Ronnie about their revelation, and Ronnie was monstrously energized to see the revelation without help from anyone else. The entire team was very excited and motivated by this new discovery to further investigate this matter as soon as possible. Hearing the report about the imprint, Ronnie sets out on his own process, leaving the ruler of Ridge's Island to join Russell and Mireya on the island to explore the revelation of the enormous hand-shaped impression tracked down on the island.
Here because we've been seeing a lot of indentations throughout the forest, but nothing definitive.
In an effort to locate as many possible clues as quickly as possible, they entered the island early in the morning. After showing up at the area of revelation, Ronnie is perplexed after taking a gander at the size of the hand-shaped impression. However, this was not it. Somewhat further, they find something much more insane. They discovered knuckle marks. The fact that the creature also used its hands is indicated by a distinct knuckle print located close to the handprints. To help with strolling, this is another disclosure that shows that the Bigfoot not just strolls on bipedalism, as well as quadruple. As indicated by the group's last year's revelation, Mireya had found an immense contrast between a human and a Bigfoot skull. Where the Bigfoot skull is of monstrous size, it has a little fissure in it, which shows that it resembled a mix of humans and apes in composition. This indicates that the Bigfoots possess not only human characteristics, but also of a chimp. They are able to walk on 2 feet like humans and on their feet like apes. Also knuckles too. So her articulation about Bigfoot having the option to walk quadrupedally, which is additionally called knuckle. These knuckle prints provide evidence of walking. Be that as it may, the group unexpectedly gets a tremendous shock when Russ sees 2 unique kinds of prints in the dirt.
Camera, our zoom camera. We then can jump into our infrared.
Wow.
This indicates that more than one creature was present, and these prints were unmistakable evidence of those. As Russell abruptly points out the presence of these leads, the team is now even more invested in them. Of 2 distinct sets of tracks with distinct handprints, knuckle marks, and footprints prints, the team's chances of finding these creatures have increased as a result of this. The group is currently brimming with interest and needs to see the real animal behind these prints. To additionally examine these prints, Mireya messages the proof to Bryce to review them. When Bryce looks at the handprints, he becomes even more perplexed when he realizes that both of the handprints are distinct. Presently, they are making an honest effort to find these people. The issue, however, is that the area is too large and dense. Despite the team's clever plan, it is nearly impossible to find these creatures. And using their perceptions, they evaluate the presence of these prints just prior the river, which may indicate a single meaning. The animals will move along the riversides and are right now inside the valley, as the river surrounds the valley, creating a bowl of land that is easier to look up than the entire island.
That hand, I can't think of anybody that has hands that big.
The fact that these creatures are present in the valley is their final stipulation. Although the team only has a small chance of proving this hypothesis, They are willing to try their luck in the hope of success. They devise a strategy to ensnare these creatures within the valley thanks to their meticulous planning, and investigate the enigmatic individuals. In order to begin the plan, they will search the entire area for any movement of the Bigfoot. Due to the fact that their entire investigation is now dependent on it is a trying time for the team, examining and presence of these people inside the valley. The team's entire strategy will fail if these creatures escape the valley. The group is significant as their bottom examination depends on the way that these Bigfoot animals are someplace in the valley.
Mireya, Russ, this is Bryce. You guys copy?
What do you have, Bryce?
Hey, we're catching something here on the drone in the thermal. It looks humanoid in shape.
The group separates into two sections covering different sides of the valley. Ronnie chooses to remain on the right side, while Russ and Mireya are covering the opposite side. Along these lines, the group is making an honest effort to cover the 20,000 section of land waterway valley encompassed by mountains rising 3,000 feet. Following these creatures' tracks, both teams move slowly along the sides of the river. All hope now rests on Bryce's technology to scan the valley area with his help as the group researches the regions by walking. In the meantime, another group has joined their bold hunt, the robot group. They are organizing with the inquiry group with their innovative robots to catch even a solitary second in the valley. The highest quality drone is used by the drone team to begin their aerial search and examining the entire area from every angle. While the search teams follow, the drone searches in a circular fashion up the entire valley, walking through the river. Bryce and the robot group are available at the combining point of the streams in the valley to explore the robot and find any development in the valley.
Just be careful where you step. Stay on this side.
Bryce and the drone team are walking along the riverbanks while Ronnie, Mireya, and Russ are scanning it, locate some activity in the valley. With the assistance of a warm focal point in the robot, Bryce and the robot group view as a quick figure of a humanoid in the dense valley. Mireya and Russ were only a few miles away from that entity's location. They predicted the Bigfoots would arrive because Mireya and the drone team quickly coordinated, rising in direction of the glacier. While Mireya and Russell are moving towards the glacial mass to follow the individual Bryce spotted previously, Ronnie, who was strolling on the opposite side of the valley, detected something in the thick timberline. Upon close review, Ronnie acknowledged there was a current thing in the timberline. He could hear the sounds of the tree line and the cracking of the branches, but the problem was, it was excessively dull, and Ronnie had no vision in obscurity also. Fortunately, Bryce was there to help Ronnie out with the vision issue. The drone was quickly dispatched following coordination with Bryce and the drone team. Over to the location Ronnie has suggested. The expected thermal radiation is quickly picked up by the drone as it flies over the location area on the warm focal point. They weren't sure at first, but eventually his suspicions were proven correct. When Bryce sent some movement and presence through the drone's thermal lens, only 200 yards near the area of Ronnie.
200 yards up from where you are right now. Holy I can hear it, but I can't see it.
Fast movements were detected by the thermal radiations picked up by the thermal lens. Of the substance, however, out of nowhere, as the robot drew nearer, it forgot about the element. This made Ronnie get much more inquisitive. It was a tremendous second for Ronnie as the substance was so near him. He wanted to see this enormous being for himself. Ronnie jumped into the thick tree line quickly and without hesitation to follow this large foot. In the meantime, Bryce, who was also following this person through the thermal lens, located Ronnie's area. After acknowledging how close Bryce was to Ronnie's area, Bryce chose to join Ronnie to examine this entity up close and personal as well. When Ronnie heard the noise, he quickly followed the tracks and arrived at the area. Both he and the cameraman were left in a tremendous shock as they viewed as gigantic impressions pronouncing that the Bigfoot had been there one moment prior. Even more shocking is the fact that enormous stems were split in half between the footprints. Even more bizarre was the fact that these two were separated by almost 6 feet.
I'm about a quarter mile out, closing in fast.
Bryce, I'm not hearing anything anymore.
Footprints that show how far the entity has traveled. Ronnie rapidly chooses to check the region with the expectation that the element has not yet gotten away distant from their area. He gets out his thermal camera and starts looking around them. Because the thick trees all around them were stacked very close together, it was not an easy job, upsetting the perspective on the camera and impeding the radiation from getting found out in the camera. Ronnie quickly moved around to look at the area, but the camera didn't catch anything. any kind of humanoid radiation. Similarly, as he was checking the regions, something had all the earmarks of being moving nearby. It was a reasonable humanoid figure strolling toward them. Ronnie was taken aback. He thought it was Bigfoot at first, but as the humanoid figure became more apparent, Ronnie distinguished him as Bryce. Bryce quickly joined Ronnie after working together. Bryce and Ronnie planned to follow the tracks after a brief explanation of the situation. Where the Bigfoot had probably gotten away, they both concur and follow these paths. The search team is buzzing with anticipation because they are hoping to finally this element today. Both Ronnie and Bryce follow up the scary pathway. Their flashlights are the only light in this path. They walk in these bad conditions to look for new leads and evidence. Our determined search team has finally discovered a direct route to the location where Bigfoot are entering and exiting from. They are now looking at the layer of snow on the ground as they get closer to the glacier. They discovered yet another significant sign of the entity's presence as they advanced.
Actually, a fresh kill right in front of us. The entire area is soaked in blood.
A scene shouting about the presence of a dangerous monster, a slaughter scene. The smell of blood fills around them as they check out at the scene before them. There is still a bloody mess on the snow, clearly showing the unfortunate victims. The entity's most recent kill. Seeing a horrendous wreck around midnight can be incredibly frigid, knowing that they are right now in the hunter's regular territory, giving the hunter an ideal advantage to also attack our weak search team. Anyone would be terrified to death under normal circumstances to see this horrifying scene in front of them, while knowing the substance behind it is nearby around them, even after the search team is confronted with this terrible image of the unfortunate Bigfoot victims. They come to the conclusion that it was because of the bloody mess and corpse that had been left there, either an elk or the Sitka black-tailed deer. Ronnie discovered that one of them had been killed while they were still looking over the corpse's remains. The unfortunate victim's ribs had been split in half. This befuddles why the substance would mercilessly break the bone intentionally. This brings back memories of Mireya's earlier research that humans existed in earlier ages, would consume bone marrow for brain development by breaking bones. Scientists have also proposed this as an explanation for the Stone Age humans, besides the fact that they ate the meat yet in addition consumed the bone marrow. The bone marrow is thought to have played a significant role in the development of the human brain. What's more, this might have likewise been the reason for the advancement of mankind. As Ronnie and Bryce dig deeper into the Bigfoot massacre, they come to the conclusion that this is a hybrid human rather than a normal animal they will be dealing with. The earlier discovery of volcanic glasses by the teams in the also makes sense in light of this. Caverns of what they anticipated that the substances should live in. Very much like people, these animals utilize these volcanic glasses to slice through the tissue. Despite the fact that they are still looking at the mess in front of them, one thing is abundantly clear. To them is that this slaughter isn't finished by some normal wolf, bear, or an immense feline, but instead something seriously alarming and large.
Looking at this bloody massacre, it doesn't look like normal animal predation.
They quickly obtain some samples from these bones for when they return to conduct additional research. The next step that our search team takes is to work together. Ronnie and Bryce have refreshed Mireya and Russ about their revelation, and the two of them caution to keep an eye out for them as well. All of the signs and leads can only tell one thing because this thing could strike at any time. These substances are made a beeline for the ice sheet on top of the stream. It is clear from studying human nature that both humans and animals strive to find a habitat that clearly provides them with the resources they need to survive. And in this instance, it proved right once more. The Bigfoot was additionally found someplace where they had clear admittance to the food supply and a clear place to hide. While Mireya and Russ of our team decide to locate this entity as far as they can, Ronnie and Bryce choose to remain at the slaughter scene to additionally research the scene. When they get to this point, they find that the body of whatever was killed has some unfinished business in the situation. But where was the remaining body? Assuming it was a few creature, they would have hauled it with them, however there were no tracks of the cadaver being hauled there. This could only imply that the animal would have survived if it had been killed there. They're shouldered and moved to an alternate area. Presently, assuming we take a gander at this present circumstance, it's a chimp-like way of behaving, and the way that this is the region where the warm robot had picked the indication of Bigfoot simply affirms that this is without a doubt a kill by the Bigfoot. Bruce and Roney agree that they will remain there and search the area for more evidence of this entity, and just as they are about to move in a new direction, something unanticipated comes to mind. They hear a rustling as something that freezes them on their spot occurs. A reasonable sound of leaves stirring was heard simply near them. They quickly take on this entity, realizing what it can do to them. Out their warm camera to filter the region, shaking with fervor and a smidgen of dread, they examine the region, yet sadly find no sign of the entity's radiation. Roney and Bryce then choose to do their examination around there and head towards the wellspring of the commotion. Roney and Bryce came to the conclusion that after looking around the area where something had been ripped apart, they had been searching for these beings for a few hours already, as the dense forest is now being illuminated as the sun has begun to rise. Even though our team is now worn out, they still have hope that the last hour before when the sun is up, it might be the best time for them to use the entire location. Mireya and Russ, on the other hand, have been following this entity's tracks on their own. Despite only getting a small amount of sleep through the night, this team was determined to follow this entity that Bryce's thermal drone discovered. Regardless of them following the tracks the entire evening, this element has some way or another figured out how to stow away its presence quite well. The path's excessively soft snow makes it easy to leave any kind of footprint, but this entity has tainted this logic and vanished without a trace.
Let's go check it out.
It may seem counterintuitive for something to try and hide on a giant sheet of ice.
The team was perplexed because they couldn't find any tracks on the snow along any of their routes. All night has had them in disarray on the off chance that they are following the correct way or not. Before them is a stream following the ice sheet, and behind it is an enormous wall. This has made our group get significantly more confounded, as there are no tracks of impressions on the snow, and all that stands in front of them is a huge body of freezing water. There is no great reason with respect to where this substance would have gone. Just as Mireya and Russ are deciding that they will move downwards and follow the tree line, their cameraman sees something, or rather someone, with the glacier. He rapidly shouts to Russ to investigate top that course, and that is where Russ sees it, something appearing on top of the ice ridge before swiftly retreating.
I definitely don't think we should give up on this place.
What is that? What is that? Look up there. Look up the ridge.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, right here. You see it?
Also, when it detected the group, it hopped back to the skyline. After affirming among them, they came to the choice that it was a humanoid figure standing up the wall, and when the group spotted it, it dodged away. Mireya and Russ choose to additionally research this element and choose to look further into the iceberg. Now, if we examine the location, we will discover that this is not your typical habitat, a hostile setting in which to live for humans. Because the glaciers also have crevices and are so far away from people that it is impossible to. It is the ideal hideaway for these creatures to blend in if they go there. Russ and Mireya come to their next spot to explore the ice sheet. In the meantime, the other group of Roney and Bruce had been attempting to find the substance that made an exceptional kill the previous evening. They haven't been able to locate a track because they tried unsuccessfully to find one, any kind of leads with them. But when the team discovers what appears to be a claw mark on, their wait soon comes to an end. The tree down the pathway. From the get-go, they anticipated it to be a bear. Yet the level of this hook mark was nothing finished by a bear. The bears typically leave parallel claw marks, but these were entirely distinct from the bear marks. The tree didn't have any other claw marks to suggest a bear trying to climb the tree, proving to them both that no bear is responsible for this, but the entity they have been attempting to track instead.
There's been something through here.
Listen.
The fact that the claw marks were at a height greater than 8 feet indicates that this being is major areas of strength for large, generally critically tall. Regardless of following this thing the entire evening, Bryce and Ronnie had an unfortunate turn of events tracking down the substance. However, they continued their search for the entity. In the meantime, on the opposite side, Mireya and Russ have completed their jump on the icy mass. Regardless of following this thing the entire evening, Bryce and Ronnie had an unfortunate turn of events tracking down the substance. However, they continued their search for the entity. In the meantime, on the opposite side, Mireya and Russ have completed their jump on the icy mass. They are making an honest effort to close the hole between the substance and themselves. The harsh and hostile environment of the glacier is primarily to blame for their haste. This spot isn't where a huge element can make do without a thick protecting layer. Additionally, humans suffer the most from this disadvantage because it provides a perfect hiding spot. This environment is ideal for hunting as well as for predators. Climate, yet for the hunters, however, for people, it is a dangerous climate. With its harsh cold and stressful atmosphere, it is not easy for anyone to survive there. After seemingly quite a while of looking, Mireya, at long last, spots an ice cave. In this hostile setting, it was the ideal spot for shelter. This is a significant time. On the off chance that there are enormous foot in this cavern, this could prompt a tremendous disclosure. They realized that this cave belonged to Mireya and Russ as they got closer to the ice shelter. Was the best place to hide and the best way for any predators living there to get away. They might have everything they need to live comfortably due to the abundance of clean water there. Mireya and Russ realized that this shelter might be a place for the Bigfoot to hide out. Further pushed ahead to track down any hints of the substance. The team cannot afford to wait any longer because they are so close to completing their search all night to withdraw now. Mireya and Russ plan to scan the entire region for any hints of this element, yet here we are referring to a vast mountainous region that cannot be explored on foot. The group was able to successfully negotiate with a genome-based organization to gain admittance to a helicopter to cover the pursuit region from the air. It was a wise decision to conduct an aerial search of the vast area because it is completely impossible to capture it on foot. Their hope of finding this creature is high now that they have begun their search in the air. This team's only hope is to spot the Bigfoot before it moves into the forest, because doing so will bring an end to their search. The snow is an ideal surface and gives an ideal view to detect any kind of development on the snow that will take place. The group had high hopes of spotting any movement that could be recorded on the snow. Because it could result in a complete discovery or nothing at all, this is essential for the team. The stakes are enormous, yet the group is really buckling down on the pursuit, confident that this monster shouldn't have entered the forest. The crew looks for something in the snow. The crew turns out to be more tense as the chopper coasts farther on the ice. It was time for the results of their search. The helicopter ventures to every part of the glacial mass to the forest entry, however the group can't find any snow development. The group was crushed in the wake of going the entire evening looking and checking this thing. They made the decision to go back and check the spot again, but there was no movement in the snow once more. The entity either hid too well or fled into the jungle before our team could locate it. Since they were so close to discovering clues about this, the crew was devastated. At the most crucial time, they were unable to locate it. Because they gained more knowledge today, the team was not dissatisfied and did not locate Bigfoot. Also, procured more involvement in it. They could use the information they gathered about this being, not the outcome, in their subsequent travels. The team stays propelled and is satisfied to draw nearer to finding this substance. The group returned home following 3 weeks, yet Bryce waited to twofold actually take a look at their discoveries and look for gaps.
So the team has gone home, and as usual, I'm taking a second look at everything that we captured out in the field.
While Bryce reviewed, Ronnie and Mireya set up microphones in the forest to detect sound. Mireya and Ronnie used extremely sensitive, high-quality, tiny microphones. Compared to other recorders, these mics are more sensitive. Hypersensitive omnidirectional microphones that can be programmed can detect even the smallest movement close to them. These mouthpieces can identify close-by sound and catch quality sound. Bryce constantly checked the audio of their journey location. At first, Bryce only heard birds and other animals, but he quickly discovered something else. Fascinated him. He found something astonishing after the entirety of his work. He found an enormous foot recording. From the start, the sound sounds like stirring, however, at that point we hear something astounding. A deep, unintelligible whisper could be heard. This could be a genuine sound recording of the gigantic foot. After cleaning the audio files, Bryce copies the massive foot recording with clear audio. Sound was recorded around evening time while groups scanned the timberland for the spot. Given that no one was found that night, it seems likely that this voice is the enormous foot's vocalization. After listening to the audio file, Bryce is both confused and excited by the clue. He wanted to get in touch with someone quickly who could help him find. He maintained that somebody should make sense of this event and the sound's surprising language structure. He tracked down Ronald Cosper, an etymologist with a graduate degree, after a long pursuit. Interesting and muddled language studies have made Dr. Ronald Cosper fruitful for a situation study. He claimed that Albury Osmond, a Canadian prospector, was kidnapped by Bigfoot for days. Based on Osmond's, Cosper asserts that he has translated and comprehended a number of large-foot words, evidence. Dr. Bryce received the greatest assistance in understanding Bigfoot audio from Ronald Cosper. Bryce, in the end, contacts Dr. Ronald Cosper regarding this circumstance. Dr. Cosper is anxious to join this examination and experience with Karma. Bryce contacts Dr. Cosper for news. Several rings later, Dr. Cosper responds,
Possible Bigfoot audio recordings. I'm dying to get your feedback. What do you make of these?
Bryce asks Doctor right away. Cosper regarding his sent audio files. Dr. Cosper translates that these voices are human or close to human. Bryce is excited by this finding and needs to know the terms implications and interpretations. These words are waves, level, and kumba. Doctor says that Cosper, they later analyze that distance, foundation commotion, and pneumatic force can alter how sounds are understood. In any case, these sounds are Bigfoot endorsed. The incident in which Dr. Bryce was informed by Cosper that he heard two distinct types of in the recording. One individual referenced kumba, and one more made around 50% of the level in wave sound. Bryce's greatest apprehension, that this spot had more than one individual, worked out. Also, he informs Doctor discussed the results and traces the team discovered that night, indicating various individuals. In light of what Dr. Bryce comes to the conclusion that these organisms are able to communicate and have numerous individuals. This outcome reaches out past here. A complete community may exist if Bigfoot can speak a particular language. As a result, the group embarks on a second expedition to locate the creature colony. The next steps in this mission and the team's next journey start here. The group's abundance of confirmation will assist them with demonstrating Bigfoot exists. Even if it means traveling to more dangerous locations, the crew is willing to investigate this topic further, or going back to Alaska. They're not entirely settled to address this puzzle and needs extra responses. In order to locate the gigantic foot, our brave experts set out on their most perilous endeavor in the bizarre forest. With each step, they got closer to finding the mythical creature in the forest. The group was eager to get their hands on the monster after spending the night monitoring it in the most dangerous habitat. If you want more information, try again. However, the question remains, does this mystery have additional answers? The response is determined by future conditions. The team will use their current findings from this adventure for their subsequent journey. What's more, use them for the following experience.